Jesus, in continuing his discourse of the law, helps the listener and the hearer to live beyond the letter of the law and into the spirit of the law by going beyond the letter of the law. Jesus, in proclaiming, you have heard that it was said, you shall love your neighbor and hate your enemy. But I say to you, love your enemies, calls us to go above and beyond the law. And that can be more challenging than living in the letter of the law, living in just the black and the white, but living, as most of us do, in the gray of life that sometimes makes us wonder which way we should turn, which way we should go, and how we should respond. For certainly, this pronouncement of loving your neighbor and hating your enemy is something that the world could be on board with, especially in light of recent events and world events that seem to dominate our headlines and our newscasts regularly. And this idea of loving our enemies can be a challenging, difficult, and seemingly impossible thing to do. Yet, with God's help, all things are possible. For with God, all things are possible, Scripture tells us. And so with God's help, we can indeed love our enemy. We can indeed pray for our enemies. Chad and Carol know, as I was their pastor for many years, and my new parishioners know in East and West Bridgewater, know my love of bumper stickers. And I saw a bumper sticker one time when I was caught in traffic, much like I was this morning, and on the back of the person's car it said, "Pray for your enemies. It drives them crazy." And I got a bit of a chuckle out of it, but we are called to pray for our enemies in all seriousness. We are called to pray for our enemies, to pray for the conversion of mind and heart, to pray for a change of heart for them, and to pray for their good so that they may see, they may experience the goodness of the Lord, as we have experienced the goodness of the Lord. For indeed, Jesus reminds us that God makes the sun rise on the bad and the good and causes rain to fall on the just and the unjust. And we live in a world where we are wheat among the weeds. There are many weeds among us, yet we are called to be wheat. We are called to be that good wheat that grows forth even among the weeds. And in that parable of the weeds and the wheat, we notice that the weeds aren't to be pulled up, because if you pull up the weeds, you might take some wheat with you. And so Jesus says, no, the wheat and the weeds are to remain. But the wheat is not to be like the weeds, and we are not to be like the world. We're not meant to be like the world, because while we are in the world, we are never meant to be of the world. While we live in the world, we exist in the world, we're meant to put ourselves in the world, I think, save for those folks who have chosen a monastic life, that we are called to be in the world and to bring Christ into the world. And more than that, we are called to be Christ for others. We are called to bring the presence of Christ by our very words, our actions, and our lives. And in doing so, we are called then to see Christ in the other, to see Christ in our brothers and sisters, especially those in whom it is difficult to see, that it is a struggle to imagine or to envision Christ in that person. And no matter where they stand in our life, as friend or our enemy, we are called to pray for one another. We are called to pray for their good, so that they may come to know what we as a people of faith have come to know, that Jesus Christ has broken the chains of sin and death and won for us newness of life.